Salutations! My name is Lisa and I will be your navigator guiding you through the eWQMP's electronic submittal application. The Office of Water Resource Management Coordination developed this electronic submittal application with software developers and IT support to provide our customers a straightforward way of submitting an amendment or revision to the office that meets all the requirements of the rule. The service provides automation and in return allows staff to focus on their review and process applications in a timely fashion, thus making the office more efficient. It is my job to help with that efficiency by guiding you through the electronic submittal application from start to finish for all types of amendments and revisions. So let's get started. The eWQMP electronic submittal application can be accessed by going to NJDEPonline.com. If you are a new user, then you should navigate over to the New User bar and select Request Access to NJDEP Online. Here you should fill out your contact name, your organization name, email address, and you should confirm your email address. You should select Request. After selecting Request, you will be given three options. A is for if you already have a My New Jersey account, then you put in your login credentials and link New Jersey DEP to your account. B is for if you do not have an account, then you will create a My New Jersey account right here, and it will also link it to New Jersey DEP Online. The final option is if you have a My New Jersey account, but for whatever reason you cannot remember what it is, you will have to fill out a contact form, and the My New Jersey team will help you out with that. So we're going to select option B. After filling out your credentials, select Create This. On this page, we're going to enter contact information as well as at least one contact number. After filling out your contact information and contact numbers, keeping in mind that everything with an asterisk is required, you will now hit Continue. Here on this page, you will create challenge questions. These challenge questions will be used at the end of the service to verify that you are who you say you are. So it's very important that you remember these questions and answers. After filling out your questions and your answers, what I would suggest to you is that you use the snipping tool. And if you do not know how to get to the snipping tool, it's here and you will select snipping tool. You can also right click and pin it to the taskbar, and it will always be there. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the snipping tool, open it, select New, and you're going to take a screen capture of your questions and your answers, and you should email this to yourself so you have these questions and answers for your record. Otherwise, I'm 100% sure you will forget them. After taking a snippet and emailing it to yourself, we will select Continue. On this page, you will create a certification pen. The certification pen will be used after your challenge question and answer to again certify that you are who you say you are. For me personally, I would just use my password as my certification pen, so that way you'll have less to remember when you're submitting your applications. You have now officially created your account. Since you are only submitting for eWQMP, it is right here, so you will select eWQMP, and you will go down and select OK. And it has been added, and then you will select Done. And then you will select Continue. And and now we have navigated into your workspace. This is NJDEP Online, and we are currently located in the My Workspace tab. Here you will find general information pertaining to amendments and revisions that have been submitted and those that are in the process of being submitted, as the application allows for you to save your progress and come back at a later time. Other tabs include your user profile, which has all of your user credentials, and they can be edited. However, keep in mind that if you do, you will be asked a challenge question and you will need to provide an answer in order for it to change. Certifications, not important. Payments, also not important because we do not charge fees. Documents and forms. This is where help documents will be saved, so you can check that out later if you need help and guidance beyond this video. Permit folder and NJDEP OpenGov. Not really important for the purposes of this video. Alright, we are now going to get started with an application. The first section is the instructions. This gives a very brief overview of the eSubmittal service and the different types of applications you can select. To your left over here is the outline of the application and its 11 steps. But don't get overwhelmed, as section 1 is simply the instructions and you don't have to do anything but read. Section 2 is simply you selecting an application type, whether an amendment or revision. Section 3, you will be required to answer a few questions to ensure your application selection is correct. Section 4 is simply selecting the eWQMP area. Section 5 is naming the application. Section 6 is uploading the shapefile. Section 7 is answering some more questions. Section 8 is filling in contact information. Section 9 is uploading attachments to support your application. Section 10 is answering your challenge question. And the last section is putting in your certification pin. So really, if you think about it, you only have to do a little bit of work for sections 3, 7, 8, and 9, which is only 4 out of the 11, which makes for a very straightforward and easy process. So let's hit continue and start submitting applications. Section 2 is application type selection. Here you will select your application type or your type of application. Your choices for amendments are Complete Wastewater Management Plan, Wastewater Management Plan Component, and Site-Specific. Now I know you're probably thinking, but there's a Site-Specific Large and there's a Site-Specific Small. What I would tell you is to not worry about it, because the service will determine if it is a large or small once you answer some questions in Section 3. Your choices for revisions are corrections, highlands, pinelands, transfer, revised schedule. Now, if for whatever reason you are unsure about what type of applications to select, we have you covered. Simply click on the hyperlink, and this help box will pop up providing guidance that will help you decide what to choose. You will need to disable your pop-up blocker or hit Control when clicking on the link. Otherwise, this guidance will not pop up. So let's get started with submitting an application. Salutations. The purpose of this guidance is to provide a walkthrough for submitting a complete wastewater management plan. Please make sure you have read the guidance on GIS shapefile requirements before starting this service. Let's select Complete Wastewater Management Plan and hit Continue. We are now on Section 3. This section ensures that you have selected the correct application type. Answer all questions honestly. For the purposes of this video, I am in the role of the Wastewater Management Plan Agency. The first question asks if I'm the agency or acting on behalf of the agency. I will select yes. Then it's going to ask me if I'm a county WIMP agency. I will select yes. However, there are times when the county does not take WIMP responsibility and therefore it is transferred to the municipality. If this is the case, I will then select no. The service will then ask me what county am I a part of. I will select a county, then I will have to select a municipality. But for the purposes of this video, we're going to say yes. Then they're going to ask me to select my WIMP agency name from the box. We're going to select Essex County. Then they're going to ask if I have submitted the amendment to the designated planning agencies. Essex County does not have a designated planning agency, so I will select an A, which by default is NJDEP. If I did have a DPA, I will select yes, and the service will then ask you to select the DPA. And if I did not talk to the DPA, then I will not be allowed to continue. So we're going to select an A. Is this amendment proposal in the Highlands or the Pinelands? Essex County does not have neither, so I will select no. However, if it did, then the service will require you to select which area. Now, sometimes counties are very wide and they'll have more than one area. So I can select the preservation area, I can add a row, I can select the planning area, and I think that's it, because you can't be Highlands and Pinelands at the same time. Let's say I made a mistake and I'm like, I rechecked the map and I'm not in the Highlands. Well, you can remove everything. We'll just say no. Next, the service will ask you if you consulted with everyone who will be affected by this amendment. The answer should always be yes. Otherwise, you should not be submitting to us at all. Then it's going to ask you to name the entities that you have consulted with. I will just select See List because for me that's easier to do than to go through this long list. But you can do that if you want. And you can add rows and you can delete them how you see fit. I will just say See List, but keep in mind you will be required to attach a list at the end of the submittal. Now what it's asking for is the county, which is Essex. And it's asking, is this complete WIMP for the entire county? And you have two options, of course, which is yes, it is, in which case you'll be allowed to continue. If it is no, what happens is we'll ask if the submission includes the whole municipality. It has to, so I will select yes, and then we can add all the municipalities within Essex County that this complete WIMP includes. We can add rows, we can also delete them, but to make this simple for me, I'm going to say yes. This is a submittal for the whole county. Over here, you can save your progress and come back at a later date, but I'm going to hit continue. It saves it anyways, so don't worry about that. Now we are on section 4, and we're just going to simply select the eWQMP area, which of course is the northeast, and we're going to hit continue. There's also a clear button in case you select the wrong thing, but it seems like you can just click and unclick. So we're going to select continue. We're going to give this an application name. What I would recommend is you go county, then you say complete And I always date things, so today is 1-1-1-1-1. And that's how I would name it. You can name it however you want to name it, but I think it would be easier if you did it this way. The county, what you're submitting, and a date. I'm going to select continue. We are now in section 6, which is site information. Here you're going to upload a GIS shapefile. It has to be a GIS shapefile. The service will not accept AutoCAD. If you want to better understand the GIS shapefile requirements, there is a separate video you can watch. There's also guidance that has been posted to our website. You can also select the help link up here. Again, make sure your pop-up blocker is disabled. So we're going to select help. And here it gives you a brief overview of how to submit your shapefile. So read that, make sure all the attribute table is populated, make sure you have the required files that make up a shapefile, because a shapefile is not just one file, it's numerous files that make up the shapefile. So what we're going to do is we're going to upload a shapefile. So I have uploaded a shapefile. What's going to happen is the shapefile is being processed. You can see the status at the bottom. It gives you, the attribute data is okay, the geometry and the projection is okay, the shapefile is okay. So now it's querying against various layers. And this will take several minutes. So it's best just let it do what it does. Alright, so the shapefile has been processed and it took about 3 minutes. Depending on how big your county is, it might take longer than 3 minutes. Essex County is pretty small. And if you're interested, it gives you exactly what it's doing as it's processing the shapefile. If for whatever reason you're having issues with this particular section, what I recommend is you copy this data in here along with a screen capture of what the error may be, and then you can submit it to the portal so they can troubleshoot or figure out what went wrong. What I would suggest to you is to make sure that all the attribute data that's required to be filled out is filled out in the proper format. I will also recommend that you delete all special characters within the shapefile. And special characters are defined as anything that is not a letter or a number. So let's select continue. Sometimes you'll get this error. This doesn't really mean anything, so we'll just hit OK. And we will continue. So now we are on section 7. It's asking us to provide a WIMP document name. Again, it's county complete WIMP. It's asking if the proposal is in conformance with the master plan and the zoning. It is. If for whatever reason it's not, you will select no, and you will have to explain. Is the proposal in conformance with the county master plans? Yes, but if it's not, type in why it's not. I do not think you'll be allowed to continue if you don't populate these two boxes. So let's select continue. Here you will fill in contact information because that's what Section 8 is all about. You can have, you can put yourself in there, but you are required to submit contact information for an applicant, an agent, which is normally the consultant, and the property owner. So I'm just going to fill in all of this. Things with the asterisks are mandatory, as always. I would recommend that you save every contact you have, like going over here to save to my favorite contacts. So that way it will show up here and you can just select the information. And that is pretty much it. So now we're going to select continue. Oh no, oh I forgot the organization name. We'll just put that there. Like I said, everything that's mandatory is mandatory. Okay. We're going to hit continue. Well, actually, we're going to save it. So that way I don't have to put in the organization name and type again. And we're going to hit continue. We are now on section 9. In this section, you are required to submit everything that has an asterisk, which is mandatory. So we need to submit our notified entities list, the complete wastewater management plan text, all the maps 1, 2, 3, and 4, and the wastewater treatment capacity analysis. I want to talk about the maps. So what you're submitting really is you're submitting the official PDF version of the map, but you also have to submit the GIS shapefiles of the map in a zip format. So that's what all this is. So I'm going to go ahead and upload the attachments. Okay, so I've uploaded all the documents, and you will know if they uploaded because the status will go to green. If at any time I accidentally put the wrong file here, I can just select remove. I also have the option of adding additional attachments. We can add other supporting maps or anything other that you want to add. And this is other. I will type in other, and it has to be a zip file. See, and it goes to green. Now we will select continue. Here we're just simply doing some certifications, which basically says that everything you provided to the department is honest and accurate, and that you are actually the authorized wastewater management planning agency representative, and we select continue. Here we have to put in our response to the challenge questions. We are providing certification that we are who we say we are. It's not case sensitive, which is good. and the certification pen. And it has been submitted, so we will select continue. And we have officially submitted a complete wastewater management plan. It gives, your service ID, which is an ID number you will need if you are trying to troubleshoot issues. It tells us what we submitted. It gives us the application name, the date. It walks through exactly what we said. It has a list of all of our attachments, and it has certification information. And now we will select return. And now we're back at our workspace, which means we have officially submitted a complete wastewater management plan as denoted by submission successful. You can also go back to the summary and the history, and we also provide a PDF. It's all the same information. And that's pretty much it. You submitted a complete wastewater management plan. Salutations. The purpose of this guidance is to provide a walkthrough for submitting a wastewater management plan component. Please make sure you have read the guidance on GIS Shapefile requirements before starting this service. Let's select wastewater management plan component and hit continue. We are now on section 3. This section ensures that you have selected the correct application type. Answer all questions honestly. For the purposes of this video, I am in the role of the Wastewater Management Plan Agency. The first question the service asks is if I am the agency or acting on behalf of the agency. I will select yes. Are you the county agency? I will select yes. However, there are times when a county doesn't accept responsibility and it is transferred to a municipality. If that is the case, then I will select no. The service in return will ask me to select which county I am a part of. Then they will ask me to select an agency from the drop-down box. And I will select randomly. But for the purposes of this video, we are going to select yes. And we are Essex County. Then the service will ask if I have submitted my proposal to the designated planning agency. Essex County does not have a designated planning agency, but if it did, I would select yes, because you should not be submitting to us if you have not contacted the designated planning agency. Once I select yes, the service will then ask me to select which DPA I have contacted. But Essex County does not have a DPA, so we're going to select NA. Then the service is going to ask, is the amendment proposal in the Highlands or the Pinelands region? Essex County does not have Highlands or Pinelands, so I would select no. But for the sake of argument, if it did, I would select yes, and I would be required to choose which area, or areas, because you can add more than one, that it's in. So let's add a second one. And let's just say for whatever reason this is incorrect, I am allowed to remove. And we'll say no. The next question is, prior to the submittal, have you notified and consulted with all the entities in accordance with the rule, which is cited here? This answer should always be yes. Otherwise, you should not be submitting anything to us if you have not done that first. It's going to ask you to select all the entities you contacted. I personally would just select See List, knowing that at the end of this submittal, you will be required to attach a list of all the entities you have consulted with. The next question asks for the county once more. We are in Essex. It's asking if the submittal is for the whole county. You can select yes, it is, and you can continue, or if it's not for the entire county, you can select no. The service will then ask if it's for a whole municipality. Your answer should be yes. Otherwise, again, you should not be submitting anything to us if it doesn't include an entire municipality. And then you can select the municipalities that this WIMP component includes, knowing that you can add rows, and if need be, you can also remove them in case you selected the wrong municipality. To make this easier, I'm going to select yes, it is. I'm going to select continue. We are now in section 4. Here we're just simply selecting the WQMP area. If you make a mistake and you select the wrong area, you can hit clear, or you can select it and unselect it. That's fine too. So we're in the Northeast. I'm going to select continue. We are going to name our application. I always like to name it what I'm submitting and the date. And select continue. We are now on section 6, site information. Here you will upload a GIS shapefile. The service will not accept AutoCAD. There is a separate video explaining the GIS shapefile requirements, as well as guidance has been posted on our website. You can also go to the upper right-hand corner and select Help. Please make sure your pop-up blocker is disabled, or hit Control when selecting the link, otherwise it will not pop up. Please make sure you read this, as this guidance helps you understand the requirements for a GIS shapefile and what information needs to be populated within the attribute table in order for your submission to be successful. I'm going to upload a GIS shapefile. Once the GIS shapefile is uploaded, it will be processed. This process takes several minutes depending on how large or small the shapefile is. So it's best to just leave it be. The shapefile has been processed as denoted right here, where it says I can continue with my submission. Also, this button over here has become blue. The submission took about 3 minutes, which is not bad. It could take longer depending on how big the county is and how much information is within the attribute table. As this county is pretty small, so it took 3 minutes, which isn't too bad. We are now going to select continue. Sometimes you get this message, but you can just select OK. It's not an issue. We are now in section 7, which is asking for a WIMP document name. So I'm going to type in which should be the document name for the WIMP. Then it's going to ask us if it's in compliance with the municipal master plan as well as the zoning. We can say yes, or we can say no. If we say no, we need to say why. It's going to ask us if it's in conformance with the county master plan. We can say yes, or we can say no. And if we say no, we need to state why it's not in conformance with it. This is different from the complete wastewater management plan. Since we're submitting a component, we need to talk about which component are we submitting. So you can select any component, knowing that at the end of the service in section 9, you'll be required to attach that component and any supporting data that comes along with it. So I'm going to say I am uploading a septic management plan. You also have the option of doing other, and then if you do other, then you put in a description of what component you're submitting. You can also add rows in case you're submitting more than one component. And if it's incorrect, you have the option of removing them as well. So we're going to select continue. Here in section 8, we're going to enter contact information for the applicant, the agent, and the property owner. Everything within asterisks, as always, is mandatory. We're just gonna, oh no, we can't do that one. I would highly recommend that you select Save to My Favorite Contacts. That way, instead of typing in all this data, you can just go to the drop down and select your favorite contacts. Now we will select Continue. We are on section 9, which is attachment upload. We're going to attach the complete wastewater management plan text for this component, as well as the notified entities list again, and then the other, because I selected other for the actual component I'm submitting. Again, we have to type in a description of the component. And what's interesting about this is other can be pretty much any type of document you wish to upload. So let me upload the documents. I have uploaded the documents, and you can tell that they've been successful based on the status. It is green. If at any time I uploaded the wrong file, you can come over to remove and you can remove the file. I am now going to select continue. We are now on section 10, which is the certifications page, which basically says everything in this application is true, and I am authorized to submit this application, and we're going to select continue. This is certification, which is certifying I am who I say I am. Again, the challenge response question is not case sensitive, which is really good. The certification panel. Uploading to the geodatabase, and our WIMP component has been submitted, so we are going to select continue. Here we have our summary, which basically gives basic information, the contact information, and it goes through all of our answers for the service, including the certifications. And now we're going to select return. Now we're back at our workspace, and as we can see, we submitted a WIMP component, and it has been submitted as of right now. That will be updated to submission successful. In the meantime, we have our summary, our history, and there isn't a PDF yet because the submission hasn't been officially submitted yet, but it will be. So I refreshed the page, and as you can see, status has changed to submission successful, and now I do have a PDF. It's all the same information. So you have officially submitted a WIMP component. Salutations. The purpose of this guidance is to provide a walkthrough for submitting a site-specific amendment. Please make sure you have read the guidance on GIS shapefile requirements before starting the service. Let's select site-specific and hit continue. We are now in section 3. This section ensures that you have selected the correct application type. Answer all questions honestly. The first question asks if the proposed amendment is associated with a specific project or activity. The answer must be yes, or you should not be submitting an application to the department at this time. The next question asks if you have consulted with the designated planning agencies. The answer should be yes, otherwise you should not be submitting an application to the department. Then you will be required to select the corresponding designated planning agency. If your proposal falls in an area that does not have a designated planning agency, then you will select NA, and by default, NJDEP is the DPA. Since the proposed amendment I will be submitting is in Gloucester County, this is the DPA. The next question asks if the proposed amendment is in the Highlands or Pinelands area. If you select yes, you will then be required to select which area or areas it's in. You can add rows, and you can also remove If you select yes, you will then be required to list the areas that the proposed amendment falls within. You can add rows, you can also remove them. Prior to submission, you must consult with certain entities outlined in the rule. And this is what this question is asking you. You should select yes. Otherwise, you should not be submitting an application to the department. Then you will be required to select all the entities that you contacted. However, I would recommend that you select C list, knowing that at the end of this service, you will be required to attach a list of all the entities you consulted with. The next question asks if you have sent requests to the municipalities and counties for a letter or a resolution regarding the consistency of the proposed amendment. This should also be yes, otherwise you should not be submitting an application. This question determines whether or not your site-specific is large or small. Answer honestly. If you select yes, the service will determine that it is a large site-specific, and it will ask you additional questions. If a change in sewer service area is proposed, it must comply with the delineation criteria outlined in the rule. Otherwise, you should not be submitting an application. If there is a change in sewer service area that is being proposed, you must initiate a public notification process. Otherwise, you should not be submitting an application. Since this is a large site-specific amendment, you must develop or revise a wastewater treatment capacity analysis and develop or revise a gap analysis. Otherwise, you should not be submitting an application. Then select Continue. If you select No, the system will determine that you are a small site specific and you must answer some additional questions. If a change in sewer service area is proposed, it must comply with the delineation criteria within the rule. Otherwise, you should not be submitting an application. And you may continue. We are now on Section 4, which is the eWQMP area selection. Here you will select the water quality management planning area that the proposed amendment falls within. I am using a shapefile in Gloucester County, therefore it is the Tri-County eWQMP area. If your proposed amendment spans across multiple eWQMPs, you can also select those. You can also clear them, and you can also click and unclick as well. Section 5 is application name. What I would recommend is you type in the project name, whether it's site-specific large or small, and a date. And select Continue. Section 6 is where you will upload your GIS shapefile. Please note that the service will not accept AutoCAD files. If you need additional guidance on what is required of the GIS shapefile, there is a separate video, there is guidance posted on our website, and in the upper right-hand corner, you can select Help. Please make sure that your pop-up blocker is disabled or you hit Control while selecting the link. This guidance will pop up and it will give you directions for a successful shapefile submittal. Please read all the instructions to ensure that your shapefile is accepted by the service. Once the shapefile is uploaded, it will be processed by the service. It's best to remain patient as the process can be several minutes depending on the size of the shapefile and the information within the attribute table. However, for this shapefile, the process was about a minute or so. Over to your left, you will see information about the shapefile, which will be populated in the attribute table. It also lets you go through the layers that were intersected. So we have the municipalities. These are the two municipalities. The environmentally sensitive areas. There was an intersect with it. Therefore, at the end of the service, you will be required to submit an HSD or an HIA. It also intersected the Delaware River Basin. So at the end of the service, you will be required to do something else. And it just tells you which WQMP area it also got a hit on. So below the Shapefile submittal is where you would put in the blocks and lots. And you can add rows if it's more than one lot, more than one block. You can also add a range, which we will select. You'll put in the block and the start lot and the end lot, and you will select OK. Keep in mind that the shapefile will be processed again. Then you would select your county and your municipality. So I'm going to remove these. You also have the option of certifying that a valid block and lot combination does not apply. Section 7 is service details. In this section, you will be providing the WIMP document name that you are amending if one exists. So we will put in. It's going to ask if the proposal is in conformance with the municipal master plan. You can select yes, and if it's not, then you will need to explain why. It will ask if it's in conformance with municipal zoning. Yes. And if you select no, you need to state why it's not. The following question is the proposal in conformance with the county master plan? If it is, you will select yes. And if it's not, you will need to give a reason why. Is the proposal to expand an existing wastewater treatment facility or to establish a new wastewater treatment facility? If it's yes, then you will have to select what exactly it's doing. Is it a new surface water discharge or groundwater discharge? Are you expanding? Are you abandoning the system, or is there a change in discharge location? And then you will need to answer if the proposal request includes a rebuttal to any environmentally sensitive areas. Then you will select what you are rebutting. And you have options here. You can add more than one. If you select one by accident, you can also remove it. If you did not intersect with any environmentally sensitive areas, then the answer would be no. So we're going to select continue. Section 8 is the context page. Here you will enter contact information for the applicant, the agent, and the property owner. Anything with an asterisk is mandatory. I would highly recommend that you save to my favorite contacts. That way, if you come back into the service to submit a different application, instead of populating all this information, you can just go to the drop down and you'll have your contacts here. And then I will hit continue. Section 9 is the attachment upload page. Here you will attach all the required documents needed in order to process your proposed amendment. So I'm going to go ahead and attach all my information. I have now uploaded all the required attachments in order to support my proposed amendment. you can go over here to the status and everything is green, so we're good to go. If I uploaded anything by accident, I can always remove them by selecting the X. You can also add additional attachments by going here, and there's a lot of different types of attachments you can submit. And now we're going to select continue. We're now on section 10, which is where you will certify that everything that you are submitting is accurate. And you will select continue. Section 11 is certifying you are who you say you are. The response to the challenge question is not case sensitive, which is nice. And your certification pen. And you will select certify. It's uploading to our geodatabase. You have now officially submitted a site-specific amendment. So let's select continue. This page gives an overview, a summary of the application. So we have some general information right here. We have contact information, all of the answers to your questions, followed by all the attachments that you would have submitted, and just the certification information. Now we can select return. We are now back in my workspace. Under my services submitted, you can see that we have submitted a site-specific amendment and that our submission has been successful. It has the date created, the date modified, the summary, history, and a PDF, all of which is the same information. So congrats, you submitted a site-specific amendment.